Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Business Insider. Tonight we'll be talking about the importance of the Suez Economic Zone and its role in the huge development plans that the Egyptian government have for the dear, cherished parts of its soil in Sinai. With us in the studio is Engineer Hussein Ghazzawy, and he is an energy and industry expert. A very good evening to you, Engineer Ghazzawy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad, for having me.
Thank you, sir. And allow us, please, and allow us also, dear viewers, first to watch a report about our main topic for tonight, the Suez Economic Zone and the Sinai development plans, and then we'll come back and start our discussion.
Thank you.
Head of the Suez Canal Economic Zone, Walid Jamaluddin, said in a statement that the zone signed $15.6 billion in agreements with Chinese partners for 11 manufacturing and green hydrogen projects on 4.9 million square meters. Jamaluddin explained during a meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli that the new projects are expected to create around 9,000 jobs. The agreements were signed on the sidelines of the third session of the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation held in China, which was attended by Prime Minister Madbouli. Premier Madbouli was in the Chinese capital, Beijing, to participate on behalf of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in the third session of the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. The third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation was under the theme High-Quality Belt and Road Cooperation Together for Common Development and Prosperity. Egypt has inked several deals in recent months with international partners to produce green hydrogen and its derivatives in this economic zone. The country aims in the coming years to reduce carbon emissions and promote the use of renewable and alternative energy sources, including green hydrogen, as part of its National Climate Change Strategy 2050. The chairman also revealed that in the fiscal year 2022-2023, the ports affiliated with the zone had signed contracts for 7 projects worth $1.34 billion. The new projects include building 4,455 quays and total handling areas amounting to 2.85 million square meters. The Suez Canal Economic Zone revenues hit a record high of £6.065 billion in the fiscal year 2022-2023 that ended in June. Egypt plans to increase its US dollar liquidity by $191 billion through 2026, $17 billion of which is expected from the Suez Canal.
Thank you very much, Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdel Hamid, for this report. Back here in the studio with Engineer Hussein Ghazzawy, the industry and energy expert. And of course, the Suez Canal is the shortest link between East and West, or West and East. So whenever we talk about the Suez Economic Zone, that big hub with the aim of attracting foreign and local investments, and Egypt being a gate to Africa and from Africa and to Europe, and from Europe and Asia to and from. Engineer Ghazzawy, 2015 was the establishment of the Suez Economic Zone. Please talk to us about the importance of that big industrial and energy hub.
Suez Canal Economic Zone, it's crucial for Egypt's economy and Egypt's future. We're talking about a 455 square kilometer. It's a huge area. There are 6 ports and very diverse in the nature of each of the ports. We talk about El Tor, we talk about Adabiya, we're talking about Ain Sokhna, and further north, East Port Said, West Port Said, and El Arish port on the Mediterranean. We talk about also, in addition to the industrial area, we have Ain Sokhna industrial zone, you have Kantara, East Ismailia, and of course, East Port Said. So it is a very diverse, you're quite right, Mr. Muhammad, Suez Canal, we have 20 1,000 vessels cross the canal every year. Talk about 14% of the world trade crossing the Suez Canal. What the Egyptian government have done significant job in developing all these ports. And if you allow me to divert.
Yes, please.
With the facility we have now, El Arish, whether El Arish port or El Arish
North
airport,
Sinai, of
North
course,
Sinai, we are able to receive all this humanitarian aid. So it's having this infrastructure. Egypt is talking about having this railway from Taba to El Arish.
Of course, the humanitarian aid going to the Palestinians in Gaza that are suffering from the brutal aggression by the Israeli occupation that goes against international law and humanitarian norms.
Approaching 11,000 people lost their life, mainly children and women. It's really heartbreaking. And don't want to be biased to Egypt, but I think Egypt is doing what it can to, and using all its basically diplomatic relation to put a ceasefire on this unprecedented situation, despite all the pressure we are facing, pushing people to go to Egypt, and then we dissolve the Palestinian
it's the just cause. Of course, Egypt and other parties are working for the ceasefire, but it seems because of the U.S. support to the blind support, entre parenthèses, to the Israelis, that the talk now is about a humanitarian truce, a so-called humanitarian truce, and Egypt is also mediating there. So Egypt always playing the political role, and of course the humanitarian role in trying to make the assistance go to Gaza, the obstacles being presented from the Israeli side. Engineer Ghazzawy, you had talked here about the importance of the infrastructure in Sinai, in El Arish, and that this has and should allow the crossing of more of the injured, the badly wounded Palestinians, and
Egypt
those
has been receiving a lot of wounds from people from Gaza. All these children with cancer, were because of lack of fuel, they couldn't basically treat them. Egypt welcomes them and will continue.
And I would definitely like to assist more and more and help more and more, and the international community, of course, should have a role in this and should not play by the double standards as the United Nations says, or the the UN representatives for different humanitarian agencies or human rights agencies say. They are because we are living in a world of double standards.
Of course, we are living in a world of double standards. What US and the West blindly support the act of Israel is totally unacceptable. However, we see a good sign of demonstration all over Europe and state, and people are realizing, but it's what is the number to stop? Is almost 11,000 people lost their life is not good enough. So, if you allow me,
this is vengeance.
It is.
This is vengeance and collective punishment, as Egypt has said. The president has definitely made it clear that Egypt believes that this is collective punishment and it goes against international law. You were talking about the importance of having this infrastructure in North Sinai, and the topic of the episode is the Suez Canal zone and its importance to the developmental plans in Sinai, because the Zionist entity has plans and has talked about it, no secret. It wants to evacuate Palestinians from Gaza into the Sinai desert, and eliminate the just Palestinian cause and make Egypt, pay the price for this. So, and Egypt has made it clear that it will never allow this. It will never allow the just Palestinian cause to be liquidated at its expense, and whether at its expense or liquidated in general, and that this is the choice of the Palestinians themselves. And we've even heard, even from the West, even from the US and Europe, saying that they are against this. But it seems, Israel is moving towards its schemes, its devilish schemes, regardless of what the international community believes, regardless of what its neighbors think, or the UN thinks, or even its main sponsor and main backer, the US, thinks.
But if you allow me, Mr. Mohammed, I think the European and US stand on stopping the basically evacuation of the Palestinian to Sinai was not the case in the beginning. I think the firm position of Egypt, the firm stand of the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and here I am as an Egyptian Arab, I salute him for taking all this pressure, taking a good stand. Jordan, King Abdullah, the rest of the Arab countries, without this strong and firm and clear stand, Europe and US wouldn't have changed their opinion about accepting the idea of evacuating the Palestinian to Sinai and dissolving the whole of the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian state. It's the only solution. It's a two-state solution. If you want peace, they have to go for that on the land occupied prior to 4th of July 1967, and will know peace in this area without accepting this solution.
Right. If you want peace, that's exactly as you said it, because it seems the other party, the Zionist state, doesn't want peace. I mean, it's obvious.
Correct. So, Suez Canal, economic zone, back to what we're saying.
Yes.
Railway also from El Arish to East Port Said. I think when His Excellency the Prime Minister visited China, it was during this Belt and Road Forum, and met also with the President of China. And just for our viewers, China, His Excellency the President said Egypt was the first Arab and African country to establish a diplomatic relation with the People's Republic of China, so that there is a long history goes between Egypt and China. The $15.6 billion was mentioned in your report.
Yes.
With all this project signed with the Suez Canal Economic Zone. We talk about $6.75 billion, a mega project with green ammonia and green hydrogen. We talk about when the project is established, we talk about 1.2 million tons of green ammonia, 210,000 tons of green hydrogen, and another big project, another $8 billion for having the calcium chloride factory over 3 stages to produce 4.1 million tons of calcium chloride coming from a renewable energy, about 6.1 gigawatt. So this is mega project, and make the last report by the European Investment Bank when it come about talking about green hydrogen and talking specifically about Africa, they talk about 3 main areas where will dominating the green hydrogen for the, of course, the objectives of reaching zero emission by 2050. They spoke about Egypt, 20 million ton. They talk about Morocco and Mauritania, and Namibia and South Africa for the rest. So Egypt present a significant part of that. Having Suez Canal Economic Zone, signing all this agreement with China, basically strengthens our position. We have sun, we have winds. If you look at the Sun Atlas or Wind Atlas, we are gifted in this part of the world. As you mentioned in your intro, the proximity to Europe, we are the gate of Africa. China Industrial Zone, it's a very good example of having a successful industrial zone. There is a factory.
We are the gate to Asia as well.
We are gate to Asia.
Because China is in Asia.
We are the only country where we are in Africa, and the rest of the country is in Asia. So proximity to the rest of the world. So we have a very strategic position, and China realizes the importance of Egypt in their Belt and Road Forum. We going to join BRICS, and thanks to China for and other country for supporting Egypt to be part of the BRICS. We talk about almost $15 billion trade between Egypt and China. The idea of having more factories in this China industrial zone. There is also a big project to manufacture the photovoltaic cells, but also with the Suez Canal Economic Zone. You spoke about the green fuel. So there is a lot of projects opening more job opportunity and basically demonstrate the clear plan of Egypt to further invest and have all this mega project in Sinai. We know about Bahr al-Ba'r project. We talk about 5 million.
You know, Bahr al-Ba'r was attacked by Israel as well. So I mean, people will never forget.
No, I will not forget because I was young, and it was in April, and people, 31 students of my age.
That was in the 60s?
That was in the 60s. It was in the 60s, if I'm not mistaken, 69.
Between 67 and 73.
Between 67 and 63, it was
and
after.
73, yes.
And so maybe we need to ask people when we interview them, did you condemn the bombarding of Bahr al-Ba'r school where over 30 students aged between 6 to 10 years old were killed by Israeli air forces? Instead of it became
right, because the history did not start on the 7th of October.
Exactly.
History starts before that.
Exactly.
Yeah, not 7 October 2023. I mean, there is a 56-year history. There is a history. There is a 75-year history.
You talk
of
about
aggression
the oldest occupation in the modern history, 75 years. It's
Engineer Ghazzawy, you were talking about indeed that visit by the Prime Minister to China was very fruitful. It was in mid-October. Certainly, job opportunities will be created by these $15.6 billion of investments. There is talk about at least 9,000 job opportunities that will be created during the Premier's last visit to China. Talk to us about the sectors that will benefit from the China-Egypt cooperation, especially regarding the Suez Economic Zone.
During the visit, China offered basically their support and having all this signed deal. We talk about the renewable energy and the green hydrogen. We talk also about agriculture industry. We talk about infrastructure. China have very good track record and very good example all over the world in this domain. The 9,000 jobs will be created. It's only direct job. There is probably triple or 4 times more indirect job. We will be talking about Bahr al-Ba'r and the 5 million basically cubic meters every day. to be basically for agriculture. We talk about 400,000 faddan or to be basically give the water in Sinai. We're talking about the new delta, but will as well with another 2 million faddan. So there is, Egypt have made significant investment
Yes.
and in infrastructure to be ready for that. Back to the Suez Canal Economic Zone, the diversity in Suez Canal Economic Zone between light industry, heavy industry, medium industry, all over Sinai, having this one of the industrial zone with agribusiness, using basically having vegetable and fruits coming from the delta. We see all this train, we see all this infrastructure. When people were talking about why you have to have a train from Alamein to Ain Sokhna, because that's how you going to move the goods from all these ports. Again, you talk about 1.3 billion people in Africa. The market of actually the Suez Canal Economic Zone, if you take the people in Africa, and the big market in Egypt was 110 million as well, and rest of Middle East and Europe, you talk about almost 2 billion people. That's the size. That's the size of the market.
I want to go back to Sinai, the land of turquoise, Engineer Al-Ghazzawy. You know, Egypt in the past decade or so has been spending a lot of money in infrastructure in Sinai, a great development scheme, and it did that even at the time it was fighting terrorism in Sinai. And this is why now we are already at a very advanced stage in, you know, getting Sinai ready for what it deserves. So talk to us about how do you see the future for the population in Sinai, for the economic opportunities in Sinai, for the different sectors that will be added, and the job opportunities that we want to fill the land of turquoise?
Despite the 10 years of fighting terrorists in Sinai, Egypt didn't stop investments. Sinai is very rich with mineral. We see the investment in mega projects like the cement plant in Sinai, the marbles, and I think what the government have done under the leadership of His Excellency the President. Yes, we will fighting with one hand the terrorist attack, but on the other hand, we will basically still working on developing. When I look at all this newly building houses, meeting the local requirements and tradition of our people in Sinai, it's a fantastic hospital. Most of the Palestinian wounded are treated, of course, in Cairo, but we have Al Arish,
Sheikh Zayed,
Bir Al Abd. We have highly qualified hospital to meet very complicated case, of course, Port Said, Ismailia, and Suez. So there is a lot of investment in infrastructure, schools, building. We were seeing a lot of areas in...
The goal should be, and I believe it is, to have life in every inch,
of course,
of the precious,
of course, of
Sinai.
precious land of Sinai, and we have lost a lot of people not over the years. We are a 7,000 years country, and this has always been part of our land, and we will not give it up.
Of course.
Like most of us did a national service, and I was happy to do mine, and being stationed over there. We know how important this part of the world to us, and I'm very happy and pleased, independently, giving independent opinion of what happened with the investment, the infrastructure, despite, again, of a very difficult time to fighting terrorists at the same time.
Right. It's not just cement factories or tourism, because of course Sinai is renowned for its.
I think the mood is keeping us away from tourism, but again, fantastic tourism in industry. We see in Sinai, south of Sinai, we all are proud and happy seeing all these direct flights going to Sharm el-Sheikh, and of course on the other side to Hurghada. And North Sinai, I think, I worked in Al Arish before, and it's fantastic. I was actually on a rig in Mediterranean, and we're flying with the chopper from the Mediterranean to Al Arish. And when you come with the chopper to Al Arish with all this palm tree on the beach, it's a beautiful scene, very rich when it comes to the tourism industry, because tourism is another industry. One area I need also to mention when it comes about investment, we never heard about universities in Sinai before. Now there are several universities in Sinai, not only just traditional university, but with a curriculum and department in various faculty to meet the local requirement and the development of Sinai. So hospital, school, university, new.
So we're covering the health and medical sector.
And water for agriculture.
The agricultural sector, of course. Yes.
So
you're basically telling us that every sector of the diversified Egyptian economy will have a big part to play in Sinai, and will have thousands and thousands of jobs created.
I think we all seeing, we talk about tourism, we're talking about mining, we're talking about in industry, we're talking about agriculture, we're talking about agribusiness. It's the whole shebang, as they said.
Back to the Suez economic zone itself, how is it serving at the moment the rest of Egypt? And I'm talking about the Delta, Upper Egypt, the western areas, the Mediterranean part, and the southern part.
Okay, when I talk about the 6 ports and the diversity of each port, and I talk also about the industrial area, we talk about the agribusiness in the East Ismailia, which serving the Delta. East Port Said port is a very important port on the Mediterranean, and the investment in developing that port. Ain al-Sokhna, which will be one of the biggest ports probably in the world, serving the entire country. That's why we're talking about the train. People are trained from Ain al-Sokhna to basically Al Alamein. Yes, because that's how we move the goods from there to the other part of the country. And by the way, each port has its own speciality. So, of course, Sartor as well. We spoke briefly about the mining. Sinai has a lot of potential in the mining, which ongoing. And actually, the mining industry is very interesting because you create a new community. You normally working in a remote area, so you put infrastructure in place, and that's how you build community around it. So
yeah, the mining industry is definitely a very important one in Sinai.
And
the rest of
the countries, you said how we serve the rest. We have the Eastern Desert when it comes to mining, which is rich of a lot of minerals, gold and precious material. There's the ports in whether Ain Sokhna, Adabiya, Tor. Adabiya and Tor will serve the export of all this mineral from Eastern Desert. Again, infrastructure in place. Yes, we are facing economical challenges. It's fine,
But infrastructure stays.
But
that's the point, is that whatever you spent on infrastructure, it will stay for generations.
Thank you. And people have to appreciate that. We have infrastructure in place. We are geared and ready to take off. And all the indication, despite the pandemic, Ukraine-Russia conflict, now is, of course, this conflict impacting.
It's the most important one for us because Egypt has been throughout its history the main supporter for the just Palestinian cause. And we've heard a lot of people say there could be no more just cause. And sometimes, Engineer Ghazzawy, because we are human beings, so we get, or at least we should get affected. I mean, what's happening is, I mean, a state with military might is not fighting militants. If you want to fight the resistance, if you want to fight those with arms, fight them. But what they are doing is that they are fighting the civilians. They are fighting the defenseless people, the children, the women. I mean, people who have nothing to do with the war. The history did not start on the 7th of October. It started 56 years ago and 75 years ago, at least according to this struggle. But what really touches you or makes you feel sometimes dismayed and makes you also angry and feel dismayed is that, you know, if you have all this military capabilities, fight those who have arms. Don't kill women and children who are, sheltering next to hospitals, sheltering inside United Nations schools. It's.
I don't know if ironic is the right word, but when I hear that they will provide, U.S. will provide Israel with smaller bombs, so have a less effect, and instead of killing them at once, it takes 2-3 days to kill them. It's a bit. It's definitely a double standard.
Yeah, because what has been thrown on Gaza, indeed, according to many experts, is something like 3 nuclear bombs. So Gaza has trespassed. Gaza is Hiroshima, plus Nagasaki, plus something else that we don't know. Engineer Ghazzawy, the Suez economic zone is important to the Egyptian economy, the Suez Canal, and is a main provider for foreign currency. And has an important percentage of the GDP in Egypt. So we've already spent a lot. Should we expect more spending on infrastructure, or is it time now to bear the fruits of what we have spent on infrastructure in the Suez economic zone and in Sinai?
If we talk about the Suez Canal, I think what happened with the new canal reducing the time takes the vessel to cross. We are touching the $10 billion income, and we're going to cross that. Suez Canal already announced will increase basically the rate with the beginning of next year. And I think what Egypt has done with all this infrastructure to create the added value project. Suez Canal is important, but having industrial area around Suez Canal, manufacture, having the focus on having the raw material, more exploration for the raw material to come from Egypt. So you are with 1 million square kilometer. We are a big country, and we are a rich country, and we have a lot of mineral resources, which is essential for the industry. His Excellency the President, we talk about transfer technology, transfer to have a local, strong local and advanced in industry. So what Egypt with Suez Canal, with the infrastructure spend, it is now the time for us to get the fruit of all this hard working spent. It's mix of everything. We spoke about agriculture, we spoke about industry, we spoke about tourism, we spoke about education. All this university in a lovely place like El Galala or El Arish, all this university will attract a lot of foreign students to come to see this beauty. Who would have a university or a campus in a beautiful place like El Arish or El Galala? So medical facility. So it's not, it's stuff will remain for generation and generation coming after us. Indeed. And definitely will enhance Egypt in 2035. All the indication will be among the top 15 economy in the world. We have a strong and skilled human capital. We have a leadership I personally admire and respect, like majority of the Egyptian. We have all the ingredients, and we are delivering and will continue to deliver.
Thank you very much, Engineer Hussein Ghazzawy, for being with us tonight. It's always nice to be talking with you and to have you with us here in the studio. And we hope that by the next time that we meet, that the suffering of the Palestinians at the hands of the barbaric aggression of the Israeli occupation will have ended. Thank you, Engineer Hussein Al-Ghazzawy, the energy and industry expert. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed.
And thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. Next week, same time, inshallah, is a new episode of Business Insider. I'm Hamad Abdurrahim, and this is goodbye.